Google has been absolutely crushing it these days. Our friend Logan over at Google, formerly of OpenAI, I don't know when he sleeps. Logan Kilpatrick, follow him for all these updates. But Google's just cranking out models. They're cranking out all this stuff. But and also Gems, which I want to touch on, Jaden, today, which is essentially sort of their own little chatbots. But who doesn't use Gmail, right? I mean, it's literally like, hey, send me by Gmail or whatever, right? And Gmail, since Gemini started to get integrated, I guess it was Bard at the time. And, in the early days, it was like, oh, it can read through your emails. I was like, this is going to be amazing. In early days, it worked very poorly. It was very, very bad. It's gotten better and better. I've been slowly testing it, but now they're actually announcing stuff. So stay tuned when Google announces stuff. And when they announce something about Gmail, which is the OG of technology for a lot of the young people in our audience, Jaden, you were pointing this out to me. What did you see on this?
So I think this is super fascinating, and I absolutely love this. Currently only for Android, gonna add it for iOS soon. Essentially, you can chat with Gemini directly in your Gmail app about your emails. I think this is really fascinating. They gave a bunch of examples where you could ask it like, "Hey, catch me up on the emails about quarterly planning," or give me the IRS our EIN number for our company. I can't remember where I had it. And because Gmail or essentially like it scrapes through all your emails anyways. Google already scrapes through all your emails, I think, to essentially serve you ads inside of Gmail.
Yes.
Because they're already doing that, they're able to essentially see everything and just find stuff for you. I'm sure they have like confidentiality and yada yada encryption or whatever their security stuff is, so that this all your personal emails aren't getting leaked to the world. But I think this is absolutely phenomenal. And aside from like the creepy side, where I think some people have to get over, like just acknowledging, we all kind of know that already happens, but you really have to acknowledge Google reading everything in all your emails.
Yeah.
Aside from that, this is incredibly useful. I don't know about you, Connor, but I perpetually have many big companies, Gmail being one of them, where the search functionality, I just wish it was AI, because I'm sick of being like, going on my like Chase Bank credit card and being like, what was the transaction?
Right.
I spent money at this like one place and I'm trying to remember how much it was. And they're like, okay, what's the date of your transaction? I'm like, I don't know, but it was like at this store. And they're like, yep, sorry, give me like the date you sent it. And I'm like, gah. Anyways, there's so many different platforms where the search is horrible. And if you just have an interface where you're just like, give me X, Y, and Z about X, Y, and Z, and it just finds it for you, amazing. I would love it.
Absolutely amazing, and totally agree. And by the way, if anybody should nail search, right? I mean, it is this company. It's Google. It's literally synonymous with search. And you're right. We all have this experience, right? Like I was, I book parking when I go to, if you're in the New York area, you fly to like JFK or LaGuardia, and I'm like, oh, did I book that or not? And I'm trying to remember the exact email, like the code words and all that kind of stuff. And it's just not showing up. And the great thing is that with Gemini, as it gets better and better, and it does get better and better. First of all, I don't know how many emails you have in your inbox. I have a quintillion, so I don't know how that works like that so quickly. But the thing about this is it's funny, right? Because the hallucinations are less important, I think, in this case, right? If you're using like Code Interpreter on OpenAI, you may not go back and check the actual correlation number when you had to act as a data analyst and you've uploaded a spreadsheet. But with this, if you say, hey, I know my mom is flying in from Seattle at some, when is it? And we'll call it up and it'll immediately, sort of like the perplexity model, show you where it'll give you the answer, but it'll also reference the email. And you can check it very quickly. And because it's all your information, it's going to be much easier to check. And I reference all that because I'm always looking for, this is what I do. And so I have this, when I do this AI mindset stuff with companies, I'm always looking for what will actually change behavior, right? I don't care like how good the technology is. If it doesn't change behavior, it's not going to do it. This is why adoption is so low. And on this, I think that this has a huge chance of actually changing behavior because it's where everybody lives, and we live on our Gmail, right? Everybody has their Gmail open right now. I know you do. And if you can just ask, and it's a much simpler way. Yeah, right. Everybody does. And if you can just ask it in Gemini and it grabs it fast, who's going back to the little dumb search bar. And also, if it has essentially a mini RAG model, and RAG is retrieval augmented generation, which means essentially it's pulling from a very specific source, not the entire internet, like the 90-page document you uploaded. Essentially, it's pulling from your email, which is already RAG, but then even references, oh, and Connor, here's when your mom is flying in, and here's the email. That's just hyper practical. You don't have to worry about things in the same way. So even if it's not good in the beginning, I have no interest in crushing Google, because this is going to change how people use Gmail, I think.
Yeah, 100%. And I think this is the exact right direction. First off, I think your reg assessment is correct. That's got to be what they're doing. Your whole inbox has just turned into a reg model. I saw a meme recently on X where someone had like a screenshot of their Gmail app on their iPhone, and it had like the little red dots above it for how many like unread emails. And they were like, I'd like to thank everyone for helping me reach this momentous occasion. I've just reached 10,000 emails on my Gmail. And I want to say big things. It's like they're an influencer that hit 10,000 followers on LinkedIn. Anyways, it was funny. But I think that is the case. We have thousands of emails. Searching through them is such a pain. And if they have this whole thing built out to be searchable, this is amazing. And I think this is the exact direction that we want Google to go in. Do we really want Google to just build a ChatGPT competitor? Maybe not. Like, maybe we all kind of love that. But do we want it integrated into all of their current products that we absolutely love to make them easier? 100%. Like, that's what I love Google for, is Gmail. And if they can bring this to Gmail, fantastic. Like, I'm all on board. Sign me up, right? And I think that it's that with a lot of things with Google Search and like a lot of other things. If they can bring the AI there, the things we love about AI, that's going to be where they really excel. The one other thing I wanted to bring up, this is going to be amazing. I think you're right. This is going to change how people use AI quite a lot. Very similar to your recent AI course. We've talked a lot about this AI mindset framework that you have in the course. And I love the way your course really dives into helping people actually change their behavior, because you can have any information in the world. And if it doesn't actually change your behavior, you can know some tool exists. If you never actually use these things, you're not going to get any benefit out of them. And we know that things are rapidly advancing, and these like the opportunity for becoming more efficient at so many things we do, and getting so much more creative and augmenting our speed and everything else. Like, there's an opportunity there. We just have to actually make the behavioral changes to get it. And so that's what I love about your course. So big shout out to the course. If anyone hasn't bought it yet, which I would be shocked if any of our listeners hadn't actually bought the AI mindset framework course yet, the link is in the description for Connor's course. Make sure that you go and get that. Over 350 people have already bought this thing, for goodness sakes, and give it rave reviews. So you got to buy it, because it's really going to change the way you use AI. But yeah, that's another thing that I really think is amazing about the course and what Google is doing here. It's going to have some big impacts on how people actually change their behavior with AI.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. And I think Google is, I love this idea that it doesn't just have to be a straight up competitor to ChatGPT. I mean, they can make it, but what's going to get people there? I think Ethan Malik, or the professor at Wharton, just posted this thing about how people are making ChatGPT a very generic word now, in the same way we use like Kleenex or something like that, or Q-tip or something. Like, people are just saying ChatGPT. So I don't think Gemini is going to win that war, but I do think that Google already has just a huge number of eyeballs, right? They have in terms of search, and in terms of Gmail. Like, who's using anything except Gmail? It's almost impossible to even think about right now. And if they can build it into this, and then they can figure out how to really monetize that, somehow bring it over to, and use that to get people paying $20 a month or something like that. Maybe it's something like an add-on feature or something, because right now Gmail is obviously free, whereas Gemini costs $20 a month, but it's going to be such an incredible service. I don't think it's really like Gmail needs more users, right? So that's where I'm trying to think too, Jaden. Have you thought much about this? How Google is thinking about monetizing Gemini? Because I got to admit, I pay for Perplexity, I pay for Claude, I pay for ChatGPT. I don't pay for Gemini right now, because it's great. The one thing I do use it for, I got some early access to it. I was really fortunate to do that. But so I got to sort of like see early days, like how you could upload a video and all that kind of stuff. But even that, I'm not sure if it makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
Have you
thought
about that?
Yes, I've looked into this, because I actually was testing this out earlier today. Yeah. So I've looked into their monetization. So it's actually interesting. This thing's not free. So when we talk about this, there's this amazing capabilities, just putting that out there, it's not free. And we all know Gmail is free. Well, sort of, right? They got a limit to how much storage, and now we're all getting the the notification that our Gmail's out of storage, so we all got to upgrade. So it's somewhat free, right? I keep deleting old spam emails, hoping that I can like get it under the threshold and keep using my Gmail for free. Who knows how long that'll last? I've already started paying on a couple accounts. But this is how that they're going to make money from this Gemini feature that obviously costs money. And we mentioned earlier the reg model, like all of this stuff costs money for them. So they're not just going to, bleed money on this just to make you use their fancy new tool. They know this thing's useful enough, you're going to pay for it. So they have Google Workspace, which is essentially like their paid email for companies. And I have that on one of my emails for AI Box. Our whole company, we're on Google Workspace. And so when this came out, I actually went over to my personal email first, and I saw the little Google Gemini like sparkle button on an email. I clicked it. It had the recommendations like, ask about this or that or this within your email. So I was like, okay, you summarize this email for me. And it had a pop-up that said, you no longer have access to Gemini.
Oh, wow.
This was my free account. I'm like, dang it. Gemini was something I had earlier because I opted in for like the experimental features. And so I was testing it out. So I guess they gave it to me, but I'm not paying for it. So I no longer have access now that it's good, I guess. So I was like, shucks, I'm going to go over to my Workspace. Went over to my Workspace email, and it doesn't show up there either. And I'm like, shucks, like, why isn't it on my Workspace? Like, this is a paid Gmail account, essentially, right? So I go read their blog post, and their blog post says you have to have a paid Google Workspace email, and you have to opt in for the Gemini extension, aka I think you have to pay $5 a month. I'm not 100% sure. You have to pay extra on top of your paid email. So I think companies are going to enable this. What's interesting is it's not just going to be something that's rolled out to every free user of Gmail.
Right.
This is going to be something that paying, corporate customers use, and then their company's got to pay a little extra on top to actually get this functionality. Not to say that's not worth it. I just think that's interesting, and they definitely aren't going to give it away for free. So that's their monetization method.
That's boy, that makes a lot of sense. It's one of those things I'll bet where, it's probably really, really worth like the $5 or $10 or $20 or whatever. I mean, think about how you live in your Gmail. And this is the thing when we tell people, you got to pay the $20 a month for whatever tool, and people are like, $20 a month is a lot. Believe me, I understand $20 a month, no matter, who you are, like that's a pain. $20 a month, you don't want to pay a ton. But when you think about the value that you get back, you have to think like a business person in your own life. Like, what's the ROI, the return on investment on being able to sort through and get through your emails really, really fast? So again, I'm not paying for it yet, so I can't really shill for it or anything like that. I'm not promoting it, but I am saying that if I find that Google Gemini in my Gmail is helping me search through emails, that is absolutely worth $20 a month for me. It's not that I don't care how much you make. Well, it's not that, but just think about what's useful for you, how much time you're spending doing different things. That feels like it could be a winner.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm excited. I'm probably going to enable this on my account, to be honest, if nothing else, than just to test it and report back to you guys on how much I love it and use it. Hopefully I won't become annoying shilling it all the time, but I think it's going to be interesting. I'll upgrade to it. So if any of you guys found this podcast interesting, learned some new things, thought some new things about AI and how we are applying it and using it, the number one place that you are going to learn more about AI is Connor's mindset course. Please go check the link in the description. You will not regret it. This is probably the funnest course you've ever taken in your life, covering how you can actually change your behavior around AI. It's going to be phenomenal, mind-opening, and I think a lot of you are going to love it. So you can check out the link in the description for Connor's course, and we appreciate you guys all for tuning in. Hope you all have an amazing rest of the day, and we will all catch you next time.